Hello and welcome to Euro Football Daily, where today we're looking at 10 players misused, wasted and left to rot by Bayern Munich. 10. Renato Sanches. It's too early to call it, but his €35 million switch from Benfica in 2016 has proved a disaster for Renato Sanches so far. The Portuguese arrived in Germany after just one full season in first-team football, during which he won a league and cup double as well as the European Championship, giving him an average of one trophy every 15 games. But on the bigger stage, Sanches has struggled for opportunities. Despite Xabi Alonso's impending retirement, the Spaniard played 3 times as many minutes in the Bundesliga as his 19-year-old teammate, who completed the full 90 just once in league play. After a year with less action than Abu Diaby, who knows what damage has been done to Sanchez's development and confidence. And with the acquisitions of Xherdan Shaqiri and Sebastian Rudy, the youngster already looks done at the Allianz. 9. Jean-Pierre Papin. Chances are that you didn't even know that Jean-Pierre Papin played for Bayern Munich. The Frenchman became famous at Marseille and won 6 consecutive titles with OM and AC Milan between 1988 and 1994. In those 6 seasons, Papin scored 176 club goals, or more than 29 per campaign, and had joined the Rossoneri for a world record £10 million in 1992. So when he arrived at Bayern just 2 years later, hopes were high. But the striker was 31 and couldn't find fitness in Munich, with injuries restricting him to 7 league appearances in his first season. Papin's sole silverware in Germany was a UEFA Cup, a significant step down for a man who'd played in 3 Champions League finals. That in fact was his last trophy, as he returned to France and saw out his career with Bordeaux and Guingamp. 8. Javi Martínez. Okay, we're not really saying that Bayern have ruined Javi Martínez. Until the arrival of Xherdan Shaqiri in 2017, the Spaniard was Bayern's record signing, a €40 million pickup from Athletic Bilbao in 2012. At the time, Martinez was the most in-demand midfielder in Europe, and he had a stellar first campaign, partnering Bastian Schweinsteiger as the Bavarians won the treble. At his best, Martinez was like Patrick Vieira, a rangy box-to-box player who could win the ball in the Bayern penalty area and race upfield to start an attack. But Pep Guardiola's arrival at the Allianz saw a positional rethink, as Philipp Lahm took Martinez's place in the middle of the park and the Basque moved back into the defence. It's hard to argue with the results. Bayern have won the league all 5 seasons that Martinez has been at the club and have conceded just 98 goals in 170 Bundesliga matches. But we still miss seeing him dominate the midfield, and everyone knows centre-backs shouldn't wear the number 8. 7. Marcell Jansen. Still the 5th most expensive defender in the history of Die Roten, costing €14 million, that's more than Boateng, Lucio and Zé Roberto, Marcell Jansen broke through at Borussia Mönchengladbach at 19 and spent 3 years playing left back and left winger for the Foals. FCB snapped him up, but Jansen suffered 3 major injuries in 1 year, picking up a Bundesliga medal but failing to impress new manager Jürgen Klinsmann, who preferred 32-year-old right-back Massimo Oddo on the left side of defence. After 13 months at the club, Jansen was offered an escape by Hamburg, where he became a faithful, if often injured, servant. The German, capped 45 times by his country, stayed with HSV for 7 years, and when Die Rothausen decided not to extend his contract in 2015, he retired from the sport at only 29 years old, claiming he could never kiss another badge. 6. Tobias Rau. Another unlucky left-back, Tobias Rau came to South Germany in 2003 as a bright star of the German game. He'd excelled at Wolfsburg, and Vicente Lizarazu was 34, offering Rau the hope of a decade in one of Europe's greatest club sides. Unfortunately, though Lizarazu was often sidelined, Rau ruptured a muscle in his leg, and when he returned to health, boss Felix Magath used winger Hasan Salihamidzic instead of him. 2 years later, Lizarazu had retired, but by then Rau's chance was gone, as an exciting young player called Philipp Lahm was given his shot instead. Rau played just 19 times for Bayern, and while he'd won 7 caps for Germany when he joined the Giants, he never got another one after the move. He also never regained fitness, averaging 8 games a season during 4 years with Arminia Bielefeld and retiring from football at 28 to become a teacher. 5. Xherdan Shaqiri. Signed from Basel at 21, Shaqiri was the rising superstar of Swiss football. The stocky little wide man joined Bayern in time for the 2012-13 season and won domestic titles in his first 5 campaigns as a top-flight footballer. He added a Champions League medal, and with his combination of pace, trickery and creativity, he was expected to take over from Arjen Robben when the Dutchman's knees eventually turned into Weetabix. But Shaqiri never quite reached expectations, though he bagged 6 goals and 2 assists in under 800 minutes in his last full year in Germany. Bayern shipped him out to Inter Milan for €15 million, where he lasted just 6 months before Stoke pounced, obviously thinking that a 5'6" playmaker would be the perfect fit for their roster of 7-foot-tall ogres. The Swiss, now 25, has been resolutely average the last 2 seasons at the Britannia, bagging 7 goals in 54 games. If he'd stayed at Bayern, he might have realised that potential. 4. José Ernesto Sosa. Bought to replace another flop in Sebastian Deisler, José Sosa was an Argentinian midfielder who'd reached Estudiantes' first team as a 17-year-old. He played alongside Faustino Asprilla and Juan Sebastián Verón for the Pincharatas, and Bayern forked out €9 million for his services in 2007. Guess what? He wasn't good enough for the Bundesliga at that point. 3 years in the division was enough before he was loaned back to Estudiantes, then sold on to Napoli, where again he failed to make the grade. That lasted 1 season and he dropped down the pecking order again, this time to Ukraine's Metalist Kharkiv. But Sosa wasn't done, and he rebuilt his career with Besiktas. His 12 assists, a league high, and 7 goals in 2015-16 caught the attention of AC Milan, and he was picked up on a 2-year deal, reinventing himself as a hard-working midfield hub. Pity it took until the age of 32 for his class to show. 3. Breno. Until 2010, Breno was among Bayern's 10 most expensive signings ever. The Brazilian left his homeland for Bavaria at 18, with Ottmar Hitzfeld securing the player over interest from Juventus, Milan and Real Madrid, who were so amazed by Breno's quality that they requested a bone analysis be conducted to prove his age. The defender went on to play just 33 times for Die Roten over the next 4 years, but while he failed to set the world alight on the pitch, it was a different story off it. Breno's rented mansion burned down in suspicious circumstances in 2011, causing €1.5 million worth of damage and prompting the player's arrest for aggravated arson. He was sentenced to 3 years and 9 months in prison, though in 2013, when he became eligible for day release, Bayern re-employed him as a coach for their under-23s. He has since returned to boyhood club Sao Paulo, and while he remains technically a professional footballer, he's played just 14 times in 2 years. 2. Lukas Podolski. With the 3rd highest number of caps and goals in the history of the German national team, Lukas Podolski has had a successful career, but he could have been so much more. The Polish-born striker was on the German cover of FIFA 06 after hitting 41 goals in 2 years while at Köln. Back then, Podolski was just 21, and Bayern beat Liverpool and Real Madrid to his signature. However, like many players, he suffered a horror tackle from Mark van Bommel during training, and when he returned to the squad from injury, Luca Toni and Miroslav Klose had locked up the striker spots. Despite his exceptional finishing ability, Podolski scored just 26 goals in 3 years in Bavaria, eventually returning to Cologne for €10 million, the same that Bayern had paid for him in the first place. He went on to be mediocre at Arsenal and Galatasaray and terrible at Inter Milan. 1. Mario Götze. At number 1, we had no choice but Mario Götze. In 2013, he was the most sought-after youngster in world football, above Eden Hazard. He won 2 titles with Dortmund by the age of 20, and in his final season with BVB scored 10 goals and laid on 9 assists in the league. The day before Dortmund faced a Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid, it was announced that the German would join arch-rivals Bayern that summer. The club went on to lose the Champions League final to Bayern, and the addition of Götze looked sure to wrap up the Bundesliga for the next few years. Unfortunately, Pep Guardiola couldn't settle on a role for his young star, trying him wide and as a false 9, but rarely in his favoured number 10 position. Meanwhile, Franck Ribéry and Arjen Robben were still outstanding, and Götze's contribution gradually declined, from 18 goals and assists in 2014 to 11 the year after that to 7 the year after that. Bayern cut their losses in 2016, selling the now 24-year-old back to Dortmund, where he sat out the season with a metabolic issue. There is still time for Götze to rediscover the form which made him so feared and admired. but will never get back those years on the bench at the Allianz Arena. So those were our top 10 players who Bayern Munich ruined, but who did we miss out? Who would you have included? Let us know in the comments below. Now, if you enjoyed this video, stay right here on Eurofootball Daily. Check out Stat Wars, the Champions, Football Mundial, and Continental Club. And as ever, guys, please do like and subscribe.